which of these offers is working really well right now or working best? What feels aligned? What feels fruitful? What feels energizing? And then on the other side of the spectrum, where is energy going? Perhaps a lot of energy that's not actually producing proportional impact on your people as well as income. Which of these offers are draining a lot of resources without bearing much fruit? And really answering that question for yourself, even if it's kind of painful to look at. It's okay. We've got to be honest with ourselves here.
Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing.
One tiny step at a time.
Hey, my friend, it's Megan Gephardt here. Welcome back to the Apostolic Fruit Podcast. So excited to chat with you today about something we tend to see in a lot of clients. And it may be a little bit of a surprise because often we don't think this is necessarily the problem. Oftentimes, when you want to grow and scale your business, you may feel like, well, I've just got to throw more into marketing. I've got a marketing problem. If I'm not seeing either the full fruit of my labors or I'm not getting as much results based on the amount of effort that I'm putting in, we often are like, well, I've just got to market better, more effectively, and figure out my marketing strategies and optimize my funnels more and just figure out how to increase conversions, the people who I'm in relationship with that are in my audience. And while, yes, that may be something to focus on, there is a root level problem we have tended to see in a lot of the clients who we've been working with who are struggling with sustainability in their business across the board. And I want to talk about that today because when we're thinking about having real, sustainable, stable growth and scaling in your business, we have to think about your offer structure. That really is the core of your business model. And so if you're in this tension between wanting to get your work out to more people and make a bigger impact and increase your income and generate even more income that can pay you better and maybe pay your team members better or get more support in the business or just give you more breathing room, then I see you. And especially this year, there's been a lot of sustainability challenges with businesses across the board and a lot of mission-driven businesses or ministries doing incredible work. There has been a significant decline for a lot of people in overall revenue or fundraising money, all the pieces. And so I want to talk today about offer alignment. And what I am doing with a number of clients in strategic work is actually, as a big part of it, is assessing and improving the sustainability, the profitability, the ROI, and ultimately the long-term viability of the business based on the offer structure, where they can still serve the people who are lighting them up in ways that energize them and ways that make deep transformation in the lives of those they're serving. And so you may be in several different places here. One place that we can sometimes find people in is spread very thin with a lot of complexity across their offers. And depending on exactly what your business model is and the clientele that you're serving or the people that you are offering your services to or your products to, there may be a lot of complexity. And maybe you need to start with just how do I streamline and simplify things? So that may be one approach for you. We find people sometimes start with having too many in the past and not being able to really leverage and see a lot of stable income and momentum coming from one place. And so sometimes that's what's needed is just simplifying first, kind of like radically simplifying and then building from a stronger foundation. But we also want to make sure that we are doing the work to basically run the math on if each offer is actually sustainable in terms of both the time it's required from you and any other staff members that's going into it. So really the labor costs of it, the amount of income it can realistically generate, and whether it's actually producing a strong, profitable return on investment. So we need to look at the offer design and how that ties with, are you serving your ideal clients? Is there financial stability? in the business. And we want to make sure that that's also aligned with your realistic, and also your desired capacity you want to dedicate to this, time and energies. We talk a lot about wanting to make sure we are designing our business in such a way that it supports the life we want to live, right? Rather than our life getting kind of overtaken by the business or having to conform around the business and all that it's requiring in terms of sacrifice from you, right? So I want to walk you through a few questions that I tend to walk clients through, and I think this is the deeper root level work that is worth taking some time to focus on. So the first thing when we're examining our offers is, in order to really start with, can we get a clear, objective picture? I would go offer by offer and just write down for yourself, okay, what's the offer? What's the price per unit? Or for this particular offer, how much does it cost, right? What is the time that it actually requires from you? Like, what does it take in order to deliver this? Based on every touch point, based on any preparatory work, based on any follow-up work, any live sessions. And that also includes any team members. So what's the time that it's actually taking? Have you done the math on the quantity that you've sold of this offer within the last, you could say, 6 months or 12 months? And then what's the overall revenue? And then have you assessed, how does this offer actually feel? Does it feel aligned still? Does it feel sustainable? And just giving that a quick rating, 1 to 5. So start with just laying it out in that way, offer by offer. And then I want to take you now through a little bit of a deeper evaluation. So first is kind of looking at the cost versus the impact, and evaluating, is there a solid return on each of these offers, both in the income it's bringing in, as well as the impact that it's having on people? Or is there a disconnect in this? Which of these offers is working really well right now, or working best? What feels aligned? What feels fruitful? What feels energizing? And then on the other side of the spectrum, where is energy going? Perhaps a lot of energy that's not actually producing proportional impact on your people as well as income. Which of these offers are draining a lot of resources without bearing much fruit? And really answering that question for yourself, even if it's kind of painful to look at. It's okay. We've got to be honest with ourselves here. And now I want you to kind of take a step back for a second and think about your vision, your mission, your values, why you do what you do, like what got you into this in the first place, so who your ideal clients are. And if you had to simplify your business down to only the most essential or the core offering, what would that be? Are any other offerings complementing that or supporting that in kind of the ecosystem of your offerings? Are there any that don't feel quite aligned with that anymore? Are there any that like when you first lay this out, you're like, well, that's clear. I don't really want to offer that anymore. Or, you know what, I'm ready to let this go. I want to make a plan to scale back here or retire this offer. And some other considerations you can think about as food for thought when you're looking at any that don't quite feel right, or you're not really sure on whether it's sustainable or you want to keep going with it, is, how well is it selling? Like, is this working? Is this working for me and for my team, for my people? How does this feel in its model, its pricing, its delivery, the touch points, the duration of it, the time and energy, the type of client I'm serving, and how does all of that feel? Does it feel life-giving? Does it feel like, I might be outgrowing this, or something might need to shift? Can you name anything that doesn't feel good anymore about your offer, or that you're not confident in, or that it's not working as well as you'd like? So those are some of the questions we can start to explore. It's any that are feeling a little less aligned. And now I want to challenge you to do a little bit of math. Okay, so on 2 fronts. First one that I like to ask clients, especially those that I'm working with in strategic mapping, who, when you're really wanting to step more fully into a CEO role and not just being pulled into the weeds and doing all the things, wearing way too many hats, but you truly want to elevate your leadership and be more supported as a leader or as a founder. Do you have an hourly rate that you use, whether it's formal or whether it's informal, when it comes to valuing your time, your calls, client-facing work, or internal work inside the business? And again, it doesn't have to be something you're publicly sharing necessarily, but do you have one that you're using to factor in for decision making and discernment of what's worth your time and what's not. And if not, I highly recommend that. And using that to calculate and actually better assess based on the amount of time and capacity I'm dedicating to this offering and the actual return on the investment, does this even make sense? Or am I losing money based on my hourly rate of what my time is worth in the business? Okay, so that's one piece of math I want you to actually sit down and do. And then another important awareness, we're doing some math here, is out of those offers that maybe you've narrowed down based on what we've been talking about here to ones that are actually profitable or ones that feel sustainable and you want to keep. So out of those that still feel aligned, how many would you need to sell each month or quarterly or annually, depending on your seasonal launch or your program cycle or your offer cycle? How many would you need to sell to reach your actual income goals? And you need to have the income goal defined. You may have one, or you may be vaguely in your mind, or maybe it's been a little bit scary to even name it and write it down and speak it out loud. And I understand that too, because it can feel vulnerable. But if you really were to name your income goal, I want to be able to bring in this much personally to support my family. I want to be able to have this total revenue coming into the business so that I can have a certain amount of support for team members. I can have this much towards operating expenses. I have this much to invest in certain professional development or conferences or travel. I want to attend different things, right? So how many of those offers do you actually need to sell to reach your income goal? And then how does that feel? Does that feel realistic? Is that like, whoa, if I actually do the math, I'm like way off and this does not feel feasible at all based on my audience size. Like this is really important awareness. And so it can be a very, very clear indicator of, oh, you know what? Something's got to radically shift in the design of my offers in the first place. I've got to restructure my business model because, of course, like the math is not mathing. And so no wonder I'm not bringing in the income that feels sustainable for me. So you may notice that that's your experience as you do this. And then for someone else, maybe it's, you know what? We're not quite there yet to the income goal, but I think if we leverage this piece of marketing that is working really well, we're seeing the fruit in this. If we leverage this more, or maybe if we shift here to create more space to lean into this place that is really working, I think we would see even more results. So you may start to see things kind of shaping out as far as strategy now. But I want you to think through as you're answering those questions I have just laid out and you're working through this, I want you to keep in mind if you really had to zone in your focus and dedicate your attention on one thing or one offering primarily over this next year or over this next 6 months, what would that be? What is most aligned? What are you best at? What lights you up the most? Or you're most deeply in your zone of genius? What do you love delivering? And do you need to say no to something? Or do you need to make any shifts or close something else out to make more room for this? So I really, really want to challenge you if you're, again, listening to this on the go, or if you're not able to sit down and actually answer these questions, I want you to, as your next step, identify the time that you're going to do this. Give yourself, maybe start with an hour, or start with carving out a really good, life-giving space that's kind of set aside from your normal, maybe a special environment. Like go to a special coffee shop or go be outside if it's warm enough, if the weather's good. Go somewhere that feels life-giving and expansive to you, that's different from your day-to-day, and do this deeper work. This is the real strategy and leadership work of assessing, you know what needs to shift? If I really want this to be more sustainable, if I really want this to grow and scale without killing me in the process or burning me out and everyone on the team, then we have to be asking these questions. So block out that protected time on your calendar. Pray or go to adoration beforehand and let people know you're going to be off grid for this period of time. Do what you need to do to give yourself that permission to focus and dive into this work. And I promise you that this will bear fruit. And my friend, if you know, you're like, yeah, low chance I'm going to do this on my own. Like I need some accountability. And that's what we're here for. And I'd love to walk with you in this. I've given you a lot. I've given you a lot of what we are walking through clients with in terms of the offer specifically. But I also understand this is really hard to do on your own. And often it is much easier to have a sounding board to bounce these things off of, really help you to connect the dots that it can sometimes be hard to see when you're in it, or when you're biased by your own attachments to it and what you've always done, what you've known. And it's sometimes hard to see out of that. And we all need external sounding boards, us included, even though we do this work with clients. And so I just want to invite you, if this resonates with you and you're like, you know what, I would love to have space held for me through this. I'd love to have a sounding board. I'd love to be able to bounce this off of you and really see what can we do to map this out together, determine an offer structure, pricing, one that can meet my financial goals and also honor the real time and energy I want to dedicate to this work. We can build on this clarity that you've gained in doing this, or we can just do it together. So if that would support you, please reach out to us either by DM on any of the Apostolic Fruit social media accounts, or you could just reach out by email at megan@apostolicfruit.com. You can go to our website and schedule a connection call. And we can talk through, okay, is this something that would meet you where you're at? Do you need something more? Do you need the full strategic mapping? Or do you need a deep dive simply in a couple areas of the business where we can figure this out together and connect the dots? Because we sometimes need to reverse engineer this together so that your business model can work cohesively. So your offers are magnifying your highest level gifts, bringing out the very best in what you do, allowing you to lean on your strengths, where you are serving in a way that feels natural and feels life-giving with the exact kind of humans that you are most passionate about serving, and in a way that actively supports the income that you desire to receive on a consistent basis. And you deserve to be supported in that too, and figuring that out, because that can sometimes be hard to figure out on your own. And there is no shame in that. All right, so if you want that clarity and direction, you want some support, then reach out and we'll chat.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.